Hi, Nance.
Hey, Guy.
All right, so I think we've got everything here, right? It's actually a pretty brief agenda, isn't it?
It is, especially since we took off the,
Tree ordinance.
yeah.
In the
Scott.
beginning, I'll tell you, in the beginning, I'm going to do 2 moments of silence. One for the 13 and the innocent Afghanis who were killed, obviously, and of course 9/11, because we won't have a meeting before then.
Okay.
And you agree I shouldn't combine them, I should separate them, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think you should definitely separate them.
Are we live?
We are. There's nobody in the audience, but we are live streaming on TV. So,
And we're recording. Okay, very good.
I want to acknowledge that Vic was on before Brendan and Matt. He may not be there, but
Is it weird that we have literally no attendees?
it is weird. It's 3 minutes,
Oh, never mind.
but we're also on live on LHTV and YouTube.
Nancy, am I a co-host? Because I'm gonna have to share my screen for the proclamation.
Yeah, and in case the power goes out. Although you notice it hasn't started raining yet. I knew that was going to happen.
It's raining by me.
Oh, is it? It's just windy here. So we're waiting for Matt, right?
I see some familiar faces.
How are you guys?
Good, yourself?
Good.
how are you guys?
We're good, thank you. Thank you guys for doing this.
No, thank you.
I briefly talked to, well, over email, Rob from the governor's office this morning. He said he's working on something. I was following up on some other stuff. So we'll see. I'll keep you guys posted when I hear stuff.
Yes. I might know, but
Yeah.
I'm sworn to secrecy.
I was following up on a bunch of stuff. He's like, I'm working on stuff. I'll get back to you. I said, okay.
Anybody text Matt?
We can.
I texted him, but he didn't answer me.
Me neither.
I'm texting him now. It's probably not as nice as the text you guys sent.
You just said here now.
He might be in the other room.
Probably in the other meeting.
I'll tell you why, Nancy, because the email.
There he is.
Yeah, there you go. So Megan, we don't need the statement of the presiding officer, correct?
We do.
Oh, you do? So would you mind reading it?
Sure, absolutely. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act of New Jersey, adequate notice of this meeting was electronically sent to the Echo Sentinel and posted on the Township website. The agenda and public handouts for this meeting can be viewed online at www.longhillnj.gov. A public comment period will be held in the order it is listed on the meeting agenda.
Thank you, Megan. So at this point, I'd like to call the September 8th, 2021 Township Committee meeting to order. With everybody, please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Megan. Would you kindly take roll?
Committeeman Dorsey,
I'm here. Hello, Grace.
Committeeman Lavender,
Here.
Committeeman Verleza,
Present.
Deputy Mayor Ray,
Present.
Mayor Paserchia.
Present. And to the public, I apologize. All of us would prefer meeting in public. The last minute change, as you know, there's a storm warning. In light of what happened over the weekend, out of an abundance of caution, we thought it was appropriate to get our employees home and perhaps not put them in any danger. And of course, our volunteers that would have to be out assisting anybody. So anybody listening, please, if you can, stay home this evening and watch Netflix or whatever it is you choose to do. In the beginning of this meeting, I'd like to have 2 moments of silence. The first, a moment of silence for the 13 American servicemen and women and the scores of innocent Afghanis who were murdered in the terrorist attack outside Kabul airport on Thursday, August 26th. And a second moment of silence, since we won't be meeting again before Saturday. I think it's Saturday, right? 9/11. It's worth reminding ourselves. 2,983 innocent lives, including 343 firefighters, 37 Port Authority police, and 23 New York City policemen who perished that day in the terrorist attack. And I think I would like to point out, and this was a statistic I was shocked to see, 40% of those who died that day remain unidentified. So please, a moment of silence. Thank you, and God bless all of the people we just spoke of. Now, let's talk about our hometown hero. I think what we'll do is read the proclamation, because I tend to always put poor Grace on the spot. So while I'm reading the proclamation, I'll give you a heads up at the end. I'd like you to say a few words if that's okay. So what I'll do is read the proclamation, and I don't think Grace ever needs too much of a warm up. She's been everywhere. She's been at the State of the Union. She's been down in Trenton. She's been with the president, the governor, and probably a lot more that I am not aware of. So here we go. Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, September. Whereas our own Long Hill Township resident, Grace Elaine, is an inspirational and dedicated activist focused on raising awareness of childhood cancer and raising funds for research. I'll skip a lot of the whereases. Childhood cancer is the leading cause of death by disease in children. 1 in 285 children in the United States will be diagnosed by their 20th birthday. 46 children per day, or 16,790 children per year, are diagnosed with cancer in the United States. There are approximately 40,000 children on active treatment at any given time. The average age of diagnosis is 6 years old, compared to 66 years old for adults' cancer diagnosis. 80% of childhood cancer patients are diagnosed late with, Grace is gonna help me with this word, how do I say this word?
Metastatic.
Metastatic, there we go. Just like it's spelled, I suppose. Metastatic disease. On average, there's been 0.6% increase in incidence per year since the mid-70s, resulting in an overall incidence increase of 24% over the last 40 years. 2/3 of childhood cancer patients will have chronic health conditions as a result of their treatment toxicity, with 1/4 being classified as severe to life-threatening. Approximately 1/2 of childhood cancer families rate the associated financial due to out-of-pocket expenses as considerable to severe. In the last 20 years, only 4 new drugs have been approved by the FDA to specifically treat childhood cancer. The National Cancer Institute recognizes the unique needs of childhood cancer and associated need for increased funding to carry this out. Hundreds of nonprofit organizations at the local and national level, including the American Childhood Cancer Organization and with Grace Initiative, that's the organization that Grace runs, are helping children with cancer and their families cope through educational, emotional, and financial support. Researchers and healthcare professionals work diligently, dedicating their expertise to treat and cure children with cancer. Too many children are affected by this deadly disease, and more must be done to raise awareness and find a cure. Therefore, I, Guy Pacercia, Mayor of Long Hill Township, do hereby proclaim September 2021 as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in Long Hill Township. I encourage all residents of Long Hill Township to observe Childhood Cancer Awareness Month and support this cause that so deeply impacts families in every community across our country. Grace, I turn it to you, and please, by all means, mention the event you are going to host very shortly.
Thank you. So I just wanted to say a little thank you, specifically for the proclamation, not just from me, but also from all the childhood cancer warriors across the state of New Jersey. We just want to thank you again for your continued support and dedication to this cause. It means so much to us. And just another thank you for all that you've been doing for us. And yeah, so thank you.
Do you want to talk about Swirl Second Support?
Sure. So Swirls Open Support, I think, is 25th of 24th, sorry, of September, and it is our second time that we're doing Swirls Open Support, and it's for research money, I think, for childhood cancer, because research money is not. It's very important for childhood cancer in specific, but all cancers too. So it's pretty much just a wine tasting event. For the adults, that'll be my lemonade tasting instead. But yeah, so we are excited to do it. And
So how can people sign up?
So they can sign up through our website, the event section. There's a sign up for that, and it's hosted by a lovely host. Yeah, and all the money that we raise from this event does go to research. As Grace mentioned, there's a need for pediatric cancer research because the majority of funding goes to adults, which is obviously super important, but we say, what about the kids? So sometimes when we do testimony in front of the state legislatures, we read off 10 names. And in New Jersey, each week, 10 children are diagnosed with cancer in this state. So 10 sets of parents or caretakers have to hear that their child has cancer. So we're raising money so we can put more money towards research and hopefully find a cure for all kids. That's what we're working on. So, and we're so appreciative of this community, of everyone here on the town council, and especially the mayor, Guy, and the deputy mayor for all of your support continued through everything that we do. So obviously Grace's hair has grown back, but this community still stands behind this mission and this initiative and behind Grace and what her crew is doing. And we're very, very thankful for that. So thank you guys.
So, and I know I speak for everybody on this meeting, that true thanks goes to both you and Grace for everything you're doing. Now, the website that you referenced, that is www.withgraceinitiative.org.
Yep,
One
.org,
word,
yep.
right?
And then our web, and then there's an events drop down and it's under that events section. So we'd love to see people there. It's a really fun time. Brooke from Gary's Wine, who has a crazy resume, is the host, and she's super, she makes it fun. And it raises money for a good cause. So, and all the money that proceeds from this event goes to pediatric cancer research. That'll, hopefully benefit more of the kids in New Jersey.
And I know many of us attended that last year. It was a great time.
Thank
So
you.
it's a great event and an even greater cause. So thank you.
No,
Thank
thank you
you.
guys for continuing to bring awareness and support us. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
And remember we had the Go Grey in May event. Guy and I are still keeping that going, as you can see, and we've been joined by Scott.
Oh, we love that. Thank you. We embrace that. Thank you.
And Brendan promised he won't ever get a haircut again.
Nice. Nice.
And as you
Well,
can see, he's honored that pledge.
No, but we're super thankful for, your support in May and your support in September and all the months in between. We honestly couldn't have made all the progress we're making without the support of you guys as well as the community. So we're very thankful.
Thank you. And I know we have mayors and councils and governors. I mean, Grace, as you told us, this is something that is so dear to you and your family, and you are persistent. And I've explained that to all of the mayors and others at the state level, and they just adore you, as you know.
Yes.
And I think we're
Thank
going to see you. We're going to see you at the New Jersey League dinner in November, right? Has that been arranged?
Yes. Hopefully not all the details are out, but yes, we will see you. And then hopefully we're working on some other stuff that we'll
That's
get going.
perfect.
So,
And I'll tell you what, Grace, try if you can get there early. I'll work the room with you. You'll have
perfect.
1,000 captive folks. So we have to get them involved as well.
Perfect. No, we love that. Thank you. And we feel fortunate that Grace had such a good outcome. So that's why we keep trying to pay it forward for others. So thank you guys and your support of that.
Hey, God bless you, and always in our prayers.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. I hope everyone is safe and well and keep staying strong.
Back at you.
Thank
so,
you.
So more good news. I think we had an upgrade in Matt Dorsey's seat. Oh, maybe not so much anymore.
Not anymore. Christopher left. He came to support Grace and he's going back to whatever he's supposed to be doing.
Christopher, that was very nice.
Thank you, Christopher.
Thank you.
I thought it was like something from that Tom Hanks movie, Big.
Fortunately, it looks more like my brother, but don't ask any
Aubrey
questions.
and Grace, you're more than welcome to stay if you so choose. It's not a long meeting, but probably better to go do your homework, I think, right?
Thank you. Yes, exactly. Because that has not been done, as well as eat dinner. So
I'm
thank you
sorry.
guys again for all of
I'm
your
so-
support.
I'm sorry, Grace. Nobody likes to snitch, and I just snitched on you. Sorry.
It's okay.
Right. No, but thank you to all on the team. We're very appreciative, and thank you to the community again. The support means so much to us.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Have a good night. All right, so I think we're for those if it's not already off the official agenda, we're going to table ordinance 479-21, the ordinance concerning shade trees. We're going to do that on the 22nd, I guess. Is that the next?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's tabled to the 22nd. Consent agenda item number 6 for those who are following their scorecard. Any items on the consent agenda that anybody would like to pull for further discussion or for clarification? Hearing none, looking for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Committeeman Dorsey,
Yes, yes, yes.
Committeeman Lavender,
Yes.
Committeeman Verleza,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ray,
Yes.
Mayor Pasurcia.
Yes. Item number 7, liaison reports. Let's go in order. Scott, I see you off to my left. I don't know how you appear to the public, but that's where I see.
Sure. Recreation update. So the season ended at Sterling Lake on Labor Day, and so thank you to all the workers in the rec department who spent their time trying to fix things after the tropical storm. We know that there was some beach erosion, and we had folks out there fixing that. Some docks floated away. There's a little bit of work that's going to have to be done over the off season. Maybe Nancy, you might have some more details on that. Big day this Friday, the lake dance for grades 6 through 8 at the lake. 7:30 Friday. The reason this is such a big thing is I guess the last couple have been canceled because of the pandemic. So everybody grades 6 through 8, come on out. And that's it.
Thank you, Scott. Brendan,
No report.
Matt,
Thank you to our DPW workers. I know they were short-staffed, but they came through big. Aside from the water, they had all the roads cleared of debris, so the roads that were passable. So thank you, gentlemen. Get some rest. And to our fire department, and Brendan, I know was there all night. I see the calls in that week ago, well, less than a week ago, it was nonstop calls, people extracting people from cars, pumping basements, and they got there and helped everybody out. So everybody that went out, I know it was late, I know it was cold, I know it was raining, but the people in town appreciate the help because most people don't even think to call the fire department to help pump out their basements, and you guys did a great job. And thank you for everybody that showed up and answered all the calls. I know there were a lot of false alarms because of the power and everything else. So great job, everybody.
thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Victor,
All right, the police liaison report for September 8th, 2021 is as follows. Self-initiated activity calls for service year to date, 14,460. School activity year to date, 1,209. Motor vehicle stops year to date, 1,455. Community policing and proactive residential radar posts, 1,175. Arrest incidents year to date are 25. Actual subjects, both adult and juvenile, arrested 27. Major incidents, we have none to report. Special requests, please obey traffic controls. Generally and specifically during inclement weather. Do not cross barricades during severe weather. It could save your life or the life of a first responder. Community policing. The Long Hill Township Police Department would like to take this time to remember the horrific attacks of 9/11 on this upcoming 20-year anniversary. A time when almost 3,000 people were killed, including more than 400 police officers and firefighters, and more than 10,000 others were wounded during the attacks on 9/11. We wish to recognize those who demonstrated extraordinary compassion in the aftermath of the attacks, and those who continue to serve this great nation, both here and abroad. We will never forget our brothers and sisters who lost their lives to see that we carry their flame through their continued service and dedication to our community. May God bless our armed forces, our first responders, Long Hill Township, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
very well said, Victor. Thank you. Just to reiterate what Matt, it's good follow-up to what Vic just said. You know, Thank you to the DPW, Police, First Aid Squad, Fire Department, CERT members. Special shout out to Joe Hubert. His first day on the job, the town floods. It's just amazing how these things work out. And a real special thank you to Shane Daly and Linda Olmsted, who helped guide Joe through his first trying week on the job. And I have to say, most of all, a real shout out to the residents. The residents of Long Hill always roll with the punches. And to that point, I know a lot of residents have expressed concern that Long Hill Township, Morris County was not included in the 6 counties that were announced. That's standard practice. FEMA's working their way through the process. We've tried to get some information out, but we were getting it in piecemeal. We received an update from Senator Booker's office tonight at 5:12, which kind of summarizes everything in one place regarding how this process will work once Morris County is added, and it almost certainly will be added to the FEMA list of counties in New Jersey, and then Long Hill Township will be added. The process, and Nancy, correct me if I'm wrong, you go onto these links, and we'll put them on a page, and we'll send them out as well. The FEMA site, you cannot fill it in until the county is included. When it is, we can all address it that way. In the interim, there's a state site, and I know it sounds very confusing, but we'll get it there in one concise place. You can go on there and start listing damages that you suffered, et cetera, et cetera. I know the poor folks over in Sterling. There was a good section of downtown Sterling that was almost on an island, or not almost, they really were on an island. And one in particular I spoke with, she's a resident and owns a business in town. So there she was, she couldn't get to her business. My only point is, I cannot speak to the eligibility requirements. That's something each individual is going to have to look at and file. But I would say start the ball rolling, go on the state site, fill in what you can. Once the county is approved by FEMA, and FEMA has always been very proactive and helpful with Long Hill Township. It's not, we're new to them. As we all know, I think the last major flood we had was in 11. But even after 2011, we had Sandy in 12, we had Snowtober in 13, and we had Riley and Quinn, I forget what year that was, 17, somewhere around there. But in each of those situations, FEMA was involved. So big shout out to FEMA. They are on top of this, and we will keep you updated. Administrators report. Look at that, Nancy. I didn't forget.
So yes, as you mentioned, once we are added, there's some individual assistance the websites. It's disasterassistance.gov, and there's an 800 number for people to apply for FEMA assistance. We'll put those on our website once Morris County is added to the list. We were added to the list for the lanternfly quarantine. Morris County was added recently with 5 more counties. So what that means is that residents in the quarantine area are supposed to complete a compliance checklist, which I've printed out here. Essentially what it means is that if you are leaving the county to go to a non-quarantined area, you're supposed to make sure that everything that you're bringing with you doesn't have any live lantern flies in it. And I believe we have 13, I think there's 13 counties are already in quarantine. So pretty much anywhere you go in the state is quarantined. But businesses are supposed to go through training. I'm not sure who enforces that, but these rules were put out by the Department of Agriculture. So the bottom line is for anyone, if you see lanternflies, you're supposed to kill as many as you can. And there are various ways, I'm sure everybody's read about them, various ways to kill them. I think the easiest one is a spray bottle of dish detergent and water. but there's been some creative ways to do that. So, but now that we're officially a quarantine county, you're supposed to make sure that you're not carrying anything with you when you leave the county. I wanted to announce again, September 25th is our Long Hill Community Cleanup Day. Registration is closed and we have 110 residents participating. So that was a really good, it will be a really good turnout for the first year. So we have various sites throughout town where we're going to clean up, and there is lunch, there's coffee in the morning, and then there's lunch and ice cream at the end, and you get a free t-shirt and gloves. So too late to sign up for this year, but we hope to make this an annual event. And paving of Basking Ridge Road will begin in the next couple of weeks. This is the county project from the county line to Long Hill Road. And as Scott mentioned earlier, there's municipal damage at the lake. The separation between the fishing lake and the swimming lake has some damage to it. Our engineer was out there today. He's putting his estimate together. There was some equipment at the DPW that was damaged, and the obviously extensive damage to the police department. So police station. So we are looking forward to our FEMA declaration, and then hopefully we will be able to get between 75 and 85% of the money back that we have to spend to fix all of the damaged equipment. I think I'll save my last thing into new business. So that's all I have. Okay, I'll do it now. So as I mentioned, the police department is unusable due to the flood. And I spoke with the police chief earlier, and he has located a company called Will Scott that rents out rents out trailers. And he would like to get 2 trailers. The cost is $35,000 for a period of 3 months for 2 large trailers, which they obviously would be using for offices while the building is unusable. I told him to go ahead and order them because I assumed that you would all be fine with it, but you technically have to okay it, and Jack said that you could do that by making a motion. So if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
If there aren't any questions, I'll move it. I'll make the motion.
Did anybody declare, we know the police department's gonna be out of action for 3 months?
I would bet every bit of it. And you need to have a discussion at a future meeting about whether or not you want to keep the police department there or you want to relocate it. And there's a good chance that we will get some mitigation money,
That was my next question.
a significant amount of mitigation money for a new police department. So it's a discussion for a future day when we have more information.
All right, now, I have 2 more questions. One is, where are they gonna put the trailers? I mean, obviously, and then second one is, can we get reimbursed by FEMA for some of this?
Yeah, Matt, I know the chief's on, maybe we want to elevate.
Well, if you can answer the question, we don't need to bring somebody else in, I don't care.
I mean, I already talked to him about it, and he spoke with the FEMA representatives who were there today, and they have assured him that whatever the reimbursement is, whether it's 75 or 85%, that these trailers would qualify for that reimbursement.
Good, perfect.
And then he would like to keep them at the on the police lot next to the police station. And the main reason for that is because all the electrical equipment is there. So the body cameras and all that, all the hookups are there. It's like the home base. And so in order for us to recreate that, say at the town hall lot, would be a pretty extensive undertaking. So it is easiest to keep it there. I mean, the fact is it's still a flood zone, and if it rains tonight, I mean, hopefully it doesn't flood again. The trailers are raised. There are steps that go up to them. So one would hope that they wouldn't become damaged in a flood, and hopefully, hurricane season's got another month, but hopefully we don't have to endure another flood. So,
That
I
answers
guess
all my questions.
yeah,
Thank
there's
you.
some risk to keep it at the police lot, but it is kind of the most efficient way to do it.
And just, I was at that FEMA meeting and the FEMA officials agreed with that plan.
Well, since we're on the topic, the one other question I have is this is more, probably Gary can answer this, Bauer, is there any more, are they still allowing government equipment, the surplus equipment? Because clearly those Hummers were very useful last week, and they were useful for basically 5-6 days that they were using them. So I don't know if we even have access to those, like the free government surplus anymore, but we should probably look into that too for some vehicles.
Okay, I mean, Brendan, were you going to suggest, and I don't want to put the chief on the spot, did you want him to say a few words, or that's not what you were going to say?
No, it was just if we were going to talk about, Nancy answered the questions that Matt had, but I didn't know whether we just wanted to give the chief, have the chief give us an update as to where we're going with PD, over the next couple of months. But if that's the case, then
No, I actually, look, Chief, I apologize. I know you're out there somewhere. I don't want, if you're fine with what has been discussed so far, that's okay. But perhaps the public, if you wanted to speak and explain. Now, I don't know if
Chief, if you would like to speak, you can raise your hand and I'll promote you to a panelist. Oh, yep. Hold on. Chief, can you hear us? Oh.
you might have lost him.
No, I see him on here.
Hey, good evening, everybody.
Hey, Chief.
How are you, Mayor? So to answer the first question, I think that we're looking for an answer to is the Liaison program just notified us, I believe it was yesterday, that they are making the equipment more accessible as long as there was a freestanding resolution from the governing body to acquire certain equipment. If you remember, a while back, I stood before you and requested a larger vehicle to get us through significant flooding. So we do have a standing resolution with them, and we can move forward. The key question is going to be whether or not we can locate the item. I know a neighboring department was able to acquire an MRAP roughly at a cost of $2,000 for the transport fee. So it is out there. It's just a matter of locating the equipment that we need, and I think we're okay because we do have a standing resolution previously issued by the Township Committee. By way of the police department, Deputy Mayor Ray was able to attend a meeting today. I was on a conference call with state OEM and FEMA representatives. Following that morning conference call, they did arrive at police headquarters and toured the facility. And they have concerns over the prior history of the flooding. I know they're going to take that into consideration as far as what action plans, but they provided full authority, full support to move forward with any plans to keep the operation of the police department, basically a continuity of operations plan in place, and to go ahead and proceed as necessary to ensure public safety is tended to. So with that support and, with that verbal agreement that we can move forward with the understanding that there is going to be a significant reimbursement package to the township. I felt pretty confident receiving that information from them today, and they're on board with whatever parameters we need to put in place to function accordingly. So I think we can move forward, and as long as there's no issues. They do understand the trailers are going to be potentially in a flood area, but they are raised roughly 3 feet off the ground. There is going to be some steps to ensure it. But for access and feasibility, I think the police department, for insurance purposes, would be probably best suited to house these trailers. So I will keep you posted as I move forward, and I'll welcome any input from the governing body, or you're always welcome to come visit the facility at any time and evaluate the situation yourself if you deem necessary.
Guy, you're muted.
Chief, thank you. And I want to speak on behalf of the committee and the residents. Thank you for the job that you and your entire department did. As always, it was exemplary. And I think it's not easy to get social media to say anything nice about anybody. But as always, they said some wonderful things about you and your department. So please thank everybody there.
I will pass that along, and I just wanted to do recognize the officers for everything that they had to endure up to this point. And when the time is appropriate, I'll share some of the snippets from emails and voicemails that I received on some of the above and beyond actions that these officers have taken, from carrying shopping bags to assisting elderly in and out of their homes or vehicles. But I'll share that with you down the road. And I do want to thank DPW for coming out, and also the Milton Fire Company for temporarily housing some of the police operations and coming through for us. So there's a lot of people to be thanked, and I'm sure I did not include everybody, but there will be another meeting hopefully to do that.
That sounds good to me. Any questions for the chief? By the way, Chief, that vehicle you mentioned, what is it, a rental where you can rent it for $2,000?
No, that would be similar to how we acquired the Hummers and the generator. It would be basically, as long as we have it in operational basis, we can acquire it from the military.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Military surplus. It's roughly a $900,000 piece of equipment that we would acquire, again, from talking to some of the agencies that have received it. It's about $2,000 or so.
Oh my
The
goodness.
last one that I spoke to, they had it delivered from Texas, and that was the cost. So you're gaining almost $1 million piece of equipment.
Right. Megan, this is probably not legal, but I'm going to vote for Brendan, Vic, Matt, and Scott and me. Yes. How's that sound? Or maybe, kidding aside, do we have to take a voice vote on that, Jack? How do you want to proceed on that?
Well, Deputy Mayor Ray made the motion to allow the police department to enter into a contract with Will Scott not to exceed $35,000 to secure the trailers for the police department. So if there's a second, and then I'll take a roll call vote.
Second.
Okay, I'm sorry, but that doesn't include the vehicle, I don't think, does it?
No,
No, but I
that's
think the chief said there's a standing resolution authorizing that.
Okay, fair enough.
Is that right, chief?
correct.
Okay, good, thanks.
Okay, so I have the motion made by Deputy Mayor Ray, second from Committeeman Verleza. Committeeman Dorsey,
Yes.
Committeeman Lavender,
Yes.
Committeeman Verleza,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ray,
Yes.
Mayor Paserchia.
Yes. And I did want to, I was remiss moments ago. I did not mention Long Hill Township lost one of its residents on 9/11, Karen Seymour Dietrich. Some people will remember her. She lived here in town, and for those who don't, that's why the street that goes off of Valley Road is named in her honor. So I did want to mention that, Karen Seymour Dietrich. And anyway, sad. Next, item number 9. We'll talk about invasive species. This has been on the agenda, I think, since Lincoln, it seems. I mean, who's going to speak? Matt, did you want to? Who's gonna
I
talk?
just said we should. I just said we should have them. To be frank, I didn't read any of the statutes because it took too long. But I just think we should have something in place, because I mean, I don't want somebody to come in and start planting because they think it looks good, and all of a sudden it affects all the neighbors around them. It's not fair to the neighbors around them, all the damage these plants do.
Jack, how can we do it? Because we had a conversation about that, the ability to plant appropriate. And Scott, you had done some research on this, so if I could impose on you, there are some so-called invasive species that are okay, a lot that are not.
Well, the ones that are okay aren't necessarily invasive species, right?
Okay,
But some of the faults or some of the defects I saw in the sampling of laws that Jack dug up and others that I found, they did a poor job of defining what invasive species are. So I'm not opposed to it per se. I'd recommend that we zero in on exactly what it is we're trying to control. And whatever we do, if we can't enforce it, why are we bothering? Right?
okay.
I agree. You can't have a toothless tiger. You gotta have some enforcement mechanism. Otherwise, who cares? You could tell me, hey, take them out. If I don't have to do it, so be it.
Yeah. So just to kind of cover some of that same territory again for Matt's benefit, because he wasn't here.
Correct.
Not all bamboo is bad bamboo. There's the kind that put out stolons or runners. You plant this bamboo, which can shoot up 20 feet away from the mother plant. And then there's clumping bamboo, which spreads very slowly from a single clump, kind of like ornamental grass. And there's different kinds of runner bamboo that is more aggressive than others, and those species are particularly well named. I think, Jack, we looked at the state of New York. They have one or two that are specifically banned. There are some things that are in the ordinances which are, quite frankly, I don't see how they could be enforceable. Things like banning honeysuckle or poison ivy.
I wish.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, I'd love to ban poison ivy, but how can you tell where it starts and where it goes from, right? So, I think the path forward on this is a little bit complicated, and I'm not necessarily opposed to regulating bamboo. And I think Mr. Arenowitz had some great comments on it as well. I mean, people can plant it and control it with mitigation techniques like concrete or thick plastic borders, but that's probably a little bit too complicated to pursue.
Okay, so at this point, we're still considering it, but I don't think we have anything definitive that we can decide this evening. Does that
I
sound?
got a question for Matt. Since you brought it up, have you heard any complaints in particular from residents about it?
Well, it started because my neighbor, their driveway borders the other neighbor's house. The other neighbor did nothing to upkeep his house and sold it. So the new people moved in and no idea this exists. So it was coming under and popping up the people's driveway. So It was going up and under and causing damage to their driveway. And so what the guy would do is every once in a while have a landscaper cut it down, but the problem is the root structure. It's not what's growing up, it's what's growing up and under. So that's my concern for issues like that. Hey, if you want to ruin your own property, that's your problem. But when it goes down to ruining somebody else's property, and then like say, for example, the zoning officer came out, they really have nothing they can do about it.
Jack, is there any existing laws that cover, nuisance, things like
No,
that?
it would be a private nuisance, similar to when somebody changes their grading and
Yeah,
it results in water running onto their neighbor's property. It really doesn't involve the town, but they would have some private recourse rights. And if their driveway is ruined, it may be worth pursuing.
Yeah. Now on the other side of the coin, there are stands of bamboo in town that you see going up certain roads in town that are very attractive.
Yeah, some in Myersville. I don't bother anybody out there in the swamp. Who cares?
Exactly. And in fact, those provide a very nice privacy screen for people who want it. They crowd out certain other invasive species that attract insects like spotted lanternfly. Right. So, you don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater, as they say.
Mr. Arenowitz just sent us an email talking about New York State. They specifically prohibit planting of two species of bamboo, golden bamboo and yellow grove bamboo.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, my thing is more of, hey, if you're doing something to cause problem to your neighbor's property, that's my bigger concern. But like Scott said, I know some places heading down in the swamp, they have bamboo and there's nobody around them. It doesn't bother anybody. and it looks nice. It's just the issue of when you start infringing on everybody else's property is the issue.
So going back to what Jack said, I mean, if there's existing laws in the books that, provide some recourse for, situations of nuisance or however, Jack, you want to define them, maybe we just add some clarity there and kind of
I
capture.
mean, it's really a civil cause of action somebody would have. Like I said, it's similar to if you dig a channel and channel all the water on your property onto your neighbors, they would have a right to bring an action for private nuisance. Then the same would be with invasive plants, it seems to me.
But that issue would be you have to file it in court, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and then if some people can't afford it,
No,
or
I understand.
that's the issue.
Yep, no, I understand.
How would we handle pre-existing situations?
I mean, I think once they start to become problematic, right, then we should be able to step in and do something. But I mean, I'm with Matt. I think we shouldn't just leave it as a private action, because not everybody is can do it or is willing to go through the expense of it, or can.
It's a big expense. I mean, it'd be cheaper, really. Sometimes you start litigating these things. It's cheaper than to redo their driveway. And the neighbor's going to say, screw you, I'll go to court, and they can drag it out, not show up, play games. And they're just spinning your wheels and the problem's not getting fixed. I mean, for example, if somebody had 35 cars on their front lawn, the town could tell them to get the 35 cars off their front lawn. But here, when someone's doing property damage, I mean, there should be some recourse, or at least to give the zoning officials some teeth to say, hey, remove this or else.
Now they have to be qualified too to determine whether it's one of the prohibited species.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I just know it's
Yeah.
going up and under.
I'm just saying in general that would be an issue as to how do we enforce it? Is the zoning officer qualified to make some of the necessary determinations?
I think we need to do something also. We may have to look into it further and tweak it, but I'm with Matt and Guy, and Brendan on this one.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily against any of you guys on this. What I am
No, I didn't mean that. I'm sorry, Scott. I didn't mean that.
Wait, hold on. What I am against is a poorly written law that creates a lot of confusion and let's face it, creates the opportunity for conflict in the town because it's ambiguous, right? So that's really the issue. It's not whether or not we should do something. What Matt's saying, yeah, that's a problem. We got to figure out a way, but we have to hem it in.
And I agree with you too.
But let me look further. I'll look outside the state. I'll get a copy of the New York statute that Mr. Renowitz has cited and see if I can come up with something more specific. The problem is a lot of ordinances, people just copy their neighbor's ordinance without really checking into it.
And that's awful.
Okay.
Well, thank you for entertaining that.
No worries at all. All right, the next discussion item is Police Department rules and regulations. Now, I asked Jack and Jack.
Mr. Mayor, I'm
Yes, sir.
sorry, you moved on too quickly because I wanted to add something else there.
Okay,
And I know you tabled the shade tree thing, right?
yes,
Can I comment on that because it's loosely tied to this?
I don't see why not.
All
But
right.
not the specific ordinance, not the specific proposed ordinance, just, something general.
Well, I mean, in specific, we're dealing with this lanternfly thing, right? And it's a scientific fact that the lanternfly is hosted by a plant called the tree of heaven, Ailanthus altissima, which in itself is an invasive species, right? And so my concern is wherever we wind up on this shade tree thing, let's not inadvertently protect an invasive species like that, which quite frankly, we should have professionals remove. And I can tell you from personal experience, that tree is an absolute monster in terms of how it is causing this infestation to occur. The tree itself spreads like bamboo with runners. It creates a toxic environment in the ground, preventing other better species of trees to grow. And it harbors this pest, which is, right now practically uncontrollable. So, just a thought for when we revisit the shade tree thing, let's not protect that tree inadvertently within the wording of the ordinance.
Okay. Yeah, makes perfect sense. But I mean, shouldn't we address it sooner than later? The particular species that you're referring to?
Well, the time to kill that tree is like right now to October, so we're probably looking at next year. And the reason is from August to October, the sap starts going from the root, from the leaves down to the roots, and this kind of particular tree should be treated with.
Do you know how that particular tree is killed and does not return? Like how?
Yeah, I can pretty. There's documents from Penn State and some other agricultural departments and universities that show how you apply herbicides to kill it.
Jack, is there any reason why we couldn't? I mean,
you can't just cut it down.
Right. So my point is there any reason why we're not going to put the tree ordinance in place in time to accomplish what you're saying, Scott? But can we just put, like, if Scott comes up with some of these recommendations on how to deal with these particular so-called trees, I think the public might be interested in. It's not like they want those lantern flies on their property.
Well, all right. So you didn't want me to talk about the ordinance itself, but in specific, there's a wording tweak in here that would give us the ability to deal with it. It has to do with the defined term unhealthy trees, which are defined as trees that harbor, well, a number of things, but one of the things that makes them unhealthy is status as a host for a plant, pest, or disease, right? And so if the wording were tweaked a little bit better in 23.1 section A3, then we would have the appropriate out there.
My concern is timing. You said that now is the right time to do it. We're not going to discuss it again until the 22nd. Do you have information we can post on the website for residents in the meantime to perhaps?
Yeah, I can give some links to Nancy and we can get some stuff out there.
Yeah, there's nothing in the current ordinance that would prevent a resident from taking the appropriate steps now.
Yeah.
Right, so it's just the advice, the expert advice that would be helpful.
Right.
Yeah, and there's one other thing. I think, Scott, you actually had surfaced this one, or where maybe on township lands, we actually start to think about eliminating this particular tree ourselves. And I think Scott, you had that was an idea that you had proposed a little while ago.
Yep.
That's something that Al could do now.
Yeah.
There's really nothing from preventing him from proceeding.
So it might be, just a matter of us leading the way, and then with that, guys, you say having some expert advice on how to eliminate it on your property.
On private property, okay.
I think that would go a long way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable. In Trenton, there might be one tree per block down there, and it's unbelievable how many of them are down there.
Well, to give you an example, we went out with a wet dry shop vac and put about 2 inches of soapy water in it, and then went to the tree and probably sucked about 150 of them off the tree.
Unbelievable.
Now the soapy water kills them immediately when they go in the shop vac, but I got better things to do.
Like what?
No, this is a GP meeting here. All right, can I move on now?
Yeah, you may.
All right, thank you. So I guess I'm supposed to ask, may I move on? The police department, I asked, that's on for discussion, and Jack was kind enough to write a resolution that, depending on how this discussion goes, we could, in fact, vote on this resolution this evening, Jack?
Yes, and that's how we listed on the agenda, was possible.
All right, so the
Possible
public,
action.
that's 21-242 resolution amending police department regulations concerning facial hair. The gist of it is the whereas Chief of Police Ahmed Naga has recommended a modification to the police department rules and regulations to accommodate for officers growing facial hair in a manner that still displays a professional appearance. That's the crux of the matter. So, it's kind of tied together, but that, discussion on it, whoever wants to lead that discussion.
Well, the chief recommended this, and there's also included, a copy of the proposed regulation. Well, the reason it comes before the township committee is because you're the appropriate authority under our ordinance, and you have to adopt rules and regulations as recommended by the chief.
I mean, any comment? I mean, I'm perfectly fine with it.
I'm fine with it. I'm just curious how this came up. Are people complaining or something? Because it doesn't seem like it's a problem that I'm aware of.
Residents wanted bearded policemen.
Go to
It's
Brooklyn.
liberalizing. It's actually liberalizing the policy, as I understand.
Yeah, I have no problem with it, but I didn't know if there were people complaining or something happened.
What constitutes a professional appearance?
I don't know. King Leonidas or whatever his name is in the movie 300. That was.
I think it's
What profession you mean?
I think it's like you know when you see it.
Yeah.
It's like pornography.
All right.
Exactly.
I've come up with a brilliant idea because I am in fact brilliant. Why don't we let the chief speak to this instead of us
Yes.
trying our comedy routine here? Chief, are you there?
I am there. Always brilliant ideas coming from the mayor's office. So so that's basically a rule and reg modification. You currently allow for it for medical and or religious purposes. If you look at some of the surrounding agencies, pretty much all the agencies that surround us, they allow for well-kept beards. We're not talking about anything excessive. The policy that I forwarded, Mr. Pigeon, actually goes into what those parameters are. It's a professional beard. Currently, they can grow a mustache. The Detective Bureau can grow beards for limited tasks or duties that they have outside of the town. So it will be the final word would come back to the chief's office to make a determination whether or not this is a professional appearance. This is something that we want to represent the police department or not. But it's approved and it's allowed by surrounding agencies, and it's just in line pretty much with other jurisdictions. We could have probably done it, and it's not a matter of that we received any complaints, but it's better to do it, appropriately and according to rules and regs, and now I have concerns moving forward. So that's what I'm looking for, is the approval by the appropriate authority to allow them to grow limited facial hair in accordance with a specific set of rules and guidelines in accordance with policy. So that's what that is.
Thank you, Chief. Questions for the chief, comments, or can we move to a motion?
Fine.
I'm fine.
All right, well, then we looking for a motion to approve. Let me read it officially. Looking for a motion to approve resolution 21-242, amending police department regulations concerning facial hair.
So moved.
Second?
Committeeman Dorsey,
Yes.
Committeeman Lavender,
Yes.
Committeeman Verleza,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ray,
Abstain.
Mayor Paserchia.
Yes, and for the next meeting, can we put a resolution on length of hair for committee members? Length of hair for committee members.
Well, that's not fair because you told him he couldn't get a haircut before.
Hey, I don't.
Thanks, Megan.
Oh, so now Megan has to fight your fights for you, right, Brendan? Okay, all right. Okay, item number 10, old and new business. Hearing none. Announcements, the main announcement that I have this evening, the Shrine of St. Joseph invites all to a candlelight vigil this Saturday, September 11th at 7 p.m. It will take place. It's on the 20th anniversary of 9/11. I know everybody knows that. It will be at the Shrine's Tower of Remembrance. The address is 1050 Long Hill Road in the Sterling section of Long Hill. Gratitude reception for the area's first responders and their families who serve the community daily will precede the vigil. Please, anybody who can make it that evening, I think this is important. And it is in fact the 20th anniversary of this remembrance. I don't, Megan, did we have any other announcements that I might have missed, or, I'll turn it over to the committee. Any announcements?
Yes, I don't know if Nancy did or you. Did you announce about the special garbage pickup on Saturday?
No, actually, I forgot about that. Thank you.
I'll Nancy look. She has all the details right in front of her. Then, if she has it.
So DPW is doing a special collection on Saturday, the 11th, for household items that were damaged in the by floodwaters from Ida. We're asking that residents do not put out things. This is not just a regular bulk cleanup day. This is only for things that were damaged during the hurricane, during the storm. The items have to be at the curb at 6 a.m. on Saturday. DPW is going to do one pass through town, and if your stuff is not out, they're not going to be able to come back, but you're always able to bring it through, I believe, I don't have the date in front of me, but I think it is a couple weeks into September. DPW will be accepting stuff if you can bring it down to the yard during regular business hours, if you miss the pickup. But if you can't bring it down there, make sure you have it out at your curb on Saturday.
September 25th is the latest that they can bring it down.
But the pickup is the 11th. So that,
Correct.
right. So you can bring it down between today and September 25th. You can bring it down to DPW, but the pickup at the curb will be Saturday, the 11th.
And to prove that it was from the storm, it has to be wet. Is that right, Nancy? That's the rule.
We're gonna put people on their honors system. Hopefully they will abide by that. It's not free, we have to pay for it. So hopefully they will abide by only putting out things that were damaged.
If I could add, please be mindful, DPW workers go above and beyond. This is something that they volunteered to do as a department, and that was awfully nice of Chief Al Gallo, DPW director, and his entire team over there. And when I say please be mindful, there's a lot of wet rugs. Roll them up, put some not masking tape, whatever, duct tape around them so it's convenient for those. And I know this storm was an unusual storm. So many residents that never flooded, mine included, flooded because of the intensity of the storm, and the duration was a very short time frame, and the ground was already wet from, I guess, a storm about a week or so prior to that. So a lot of homes flooded. So a lot of wood with nails and stuff like that. If you have that, please box it. Don't just throw it out on the curb. These are your neighbors that are out there working very hard to clear this material. And as Nancy pointed out, please don't take advantage of this. This isn't to get rid of that piece of furniture that you just want to get rid of. This is for storm-related material.
And Mayor, if I could just add, I did forget. Well, first of all, when I said it isn't free, it is, there's no charge for residents, but what I mean is tax money's paying for it.
Right.
The other thing I want to point out is no tree branches, no tree limbs or tree branches. The DPW is not going to pick those up. So if you put them out, they're not going to be picked up. This was not a wind event. It was a flood event. So there's not going to be any tree branches picked up.
Can I, Mr. Mayor, can I make one other suggestion for the residents? And I think a lot of people aren't really aware of this. But, as Morris County residents, folks can take stuff up to the Parsippany transfer station, which is 25 minutes away. And that you can pay a nickel a pound to get rid of whatever you need to do. I took a pickup truck full of storm damage stuff there today, and I spent $7. And so if you miss this pickup and you're kind of a self-motivated person, you can take it up there yourself.
Where exactly is it located, Scott?
It's on 1100 Edwards Road, just off of 280. 25 minutes to get there, straight up 287, take 80 to 280, and you're right there. It's real easy to get to.
Thank you, Scott. That's good to know. Maybe we could get that on the website, Nancy.
Okay.
Anything else I can add to your list of things to get on the website? All right.
Mayor, could I make one more announcement?
Of course you can.
September 25th, come one, come all to the Millington Fire Company. We're going to be hosting our fall food festival. There's going to be some food trucks. We're going to be cooking some Oktoberfest favorites there. We'll have a craft brewery, 2 craft breweries on site, and we'll have some local bands. It'll be from noon until 8 o'clock in the evening. And the special thing about this particular day, it will be the very first annual, hopefully, chili first responder chili cook-off competition. And so you can come, you can taste the chili from the 2 fire companies, the police and the squad, and you can vote, and the winner will get a trophy to be then given to the winners the following years.
So, Brendan, is there any truth to the rumor? Because the mayor was very to participate in a dunk tank on night out, and some, very strong armed 5-year-olds and with accurate arms. I must have gone into the water about 100 times. So, will the deputy mayor participate in a dunk tank that evening?
Well, I actually, I think the deputy mayor will participate in the same way that he did the last time, which was as your MC.
All right. Any other announcements that we're missing? And unfortunately, of course, the street fair, that was a spring event that became a summer event that became a September 5th event. It just the Chamber of Commerce. They keep working very hard on this, and Dennis Sandow and maybe Michelle Cavett and Mary Mayer, they're going to try to reschedule it this year. The challenge is a lot of the spring fairs, which of course were postponed into this time period. And so now you're competing with the fall fair. So to get one of these organizations to come in and do a fair might be a challenge, but if they can, they will. Any other? Is that it? Okay, so at this point, let's open up the meeting to the public. As always, remarks and statements pertaining to any matter. Comments and remarks, please limit to 3 minutes to be mindful of other residents that are on the meeting. So Megan, can I turn the meeting over to you?
Yeah, the first person we have is Gary Pratt. I'm going to allow you to talk. If you could state your name and your address for the record, please.
Sure. Gary Pratt, 69 Lackawanna Boulevard in Gillette. And I was very happy to see this meeting back on Zoom. And I am wondering why the planning board and the Board of Adjustment, if I have that right, why their meetings are being broadcast on Zoom and the townships aren't.
Well, I mean, the desire for all public meetings is to hold them in person. And the planning board and the zoning board have their particular reasons related to COVID. It's not out of convenience for them. And honestly, for those who prefer watching on Zoom. But correct me if I'm wrong, Nancy, our meetings, even when they're in person, are broadcast live streaming on YouTube. Is that correct?
Correct.
However, that doesn't give people the opportunity to make remarks or ask questions.
Jack,
So
is there any?
I guess
Oh,
what
I'm
I
sorry,
would, what
Gary.
I would like to do, I would like to formally request that the Township Committee consider putting the meetings back on Zoom. And if not, I'd really like to know why. Because I think it's a great thing for two reasons. One, transparency, and the second is accessibility. As many of you know, I don't drive. I don't have the ability to get there. And additionally, my wife and I have been self-isolating since last March. I've been off of my property 5 times in the last 18 months. This is the only way that I can participate. And again, when I get the agendas in the email from the other boards that are using it, it makes me wonder why you're not. Perhaps you could share with us, why the decision was made to no longer use Zoom.
Well, I could speak for both the planning board and the zoning board. They will go back to in-person meetings. This is only a temporary situation for them, and it's COVID related, and they can speak to why they made that decision. That is not a permanent situation. Now, to the challenges you referenced, I would love to be able to somehow satisfy what you're pointing out. And Jack, I don't know what the legality is of the ability of members of the public to participate, but in place. Mr. Pratt has a very specific situation that I would love to be able to accommodate.
Well, we could certainly have hybrid meetings, but I understand there are technological problems with having that. I know some towns have tried to do that. I don't know how much success they've had, but people could certainly participate remotely. There's no reason. In fact, the definition of public meeting in the Open Public Meetings Act specifically says, by communications equipment or in person. So it's still a public meeting. And I think we could make accommodations for people who needed to participate remotely.
Thank you, Jack. And so Mr. Pratt,
Mayor,
Scott, not to put it on you, perhaps you can work with the Communications Advisory Committee to somehow solve this, because I think it's a problem that we would like to solve.
Mayor, if I could make a suggestion,
Sure.
what was done in another town that I was in, the governing body accepted phone calls at the end of the meeting.
Yeah.
So if somebody wanted to watch on YouTube or LHTV or Facebook Live when we get on there and they wanted to call in with a question, they could call. We have a phone on the dais. They could call in.
Okay, and who would have
That would
that? The
certainly work.
administrator? And Jack, that's legal, right? So
Yeah, absolutely.
who would it be on Megan's? Would Megan have that phone? Would Nancy? How would it in reality work?
When we bought all that equipment, we bought an elaborate speakerphone. If you recall, the concern at the time, going back over a year ago, was when one of you is away but wanted to call in.
Right.
We could hear you, but you couldn't hear everybody. So we bought an elaborate speakerphone that allows the person calling their voice to be broadcast through the microphones, and then they could hear everything that everybody else is saying.
And how has it worked in the other town? Has it worked where the person calling in was heard by the public and the response was heard by the caller?
In the other town, it wasn't, it was a while ago. They didn't have that. So they just put the microphone, put them on speakerphone, and then put the microphone by the thing. So this is a much better setup. And it's
yeah. The other thing we could do is accept emails, as we had to do during the height of COVID, and respond to emails that are received during the meeting.
But correct me if I'm wrong, Jack. It would have to be for any member of the public. You couldn't make it for certain individuals.
Well, I guess we could have some kind of sign-up system that you could participate, as long as it was open to everybody.
Okay.
I would say my comment on that is that email doesn't have the same spontaneity that I can,
Understood.
that I can respond to you and you can respond to me, and, body language, tone, all of that stuff. I mean, I'm watching you all now, and, it feels good that you're paying attention to what I'm asking and, considering it and thinking about it. That doesn't always come through in emails. To be honest with you, the idea that you came up with about just being able to call in at the end of the meeting, that would work, because, I don't care where I watch it. If I watch it on YouTube or Facebook Live or, wherever the heck I watch it, that's fine, as long as I have the opportunity to participate in either, remarks at the end. The one logistic that might be a little tough is when you're having public comment, during ordinances and things like that. How to, would it be easy just to turn it on at the end of the meeting versus, having it during the meeting? So I'm happy to reach out to, the Communications Advisory Committee if you think that would be helpful. I will tell you that my personal experience is that I run, and I've been doing it since March 2020, I run online folk concerts every Tuesday and Friday night on Facebook Live. And we just, our venue, it's with the Folk Project, which is based in Morristown. This past Friday night, we had our first live venue performance, which we also streamed on Facebook Live. So it was, as Jack referenced, a hybrid meeting. So, I mean, the technology is there, to make it interactive. But I don't think the method is so important as opposed to just having the ability for people who can't get there to be able to interact.
And Mr. Pratt, I want to thank you. This is not the first time you've come up with an excellent suggestion that I think the committee wants to act on. Nancy, if I heard you correctly, I think we can address it in the immediate sense with what you said. The longer term hybrid type situation, not longer term, but the perhaps a little bit more complex, is something that Scott and the Communications Committee could work on. But I think for almost immediately, we can address the phone call. And I would like to address what Mr. Pratt also mentioned. It's not just for the end of the meeting, right? There's, if somebody wanted to opine on a particular ordinance that's being discussed,
They
if
could
we
also
vote
call
on it,
in.
it's
for
too
that.
late. It's too late at the end of the meeting. So,
You could also open the, phone line for that if.
okay.
Right.
You don't necessarily need to open the phone line. What you could do is you could have it where they email in or chat in on Facebook Live and we call them. Right. But that's something for us to kind of figure out what the process should be.
Okay, so I think what we'd like to do is to address it in the immediate sense as Nancy suggested. And then the maybe more holistic solution is something that Scott and his team over at and Dan Aline's team over at the CAC can work on. So, Mr. Pratt, thank you as always. You're always reasonable and your suggestions are always spot on. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gary.
Megan?
I'm not seeing anyone. CA, I'm going to allow you to talk. If you could state your name and your address for the record, please.
Charles Arenowitz, Millington, New Jersey. I think the taxpayers deserve your rationale for the following. The Township Municipal Building was closed on Thursday, September 2nd. and on Friday, September 3rd. At the same time in the message, it indicated that your taxes were due by September 3rd. Some of our taxpayers wait till the last minute. I received several calls from people saying, I can't get to town hall. And am I going to be charged? I said, I don't know. Said they're due. So I like the rationale from the Township Committee where we closed the facility on Thursday and Friday, but still demanded payment. And some of the residents, don't do things online. And we've got some older residents here and they give you a physical check on the last day. So what's the rationale for demanding payment on September 3rd, by September 3rd, when we didn't, and provided so our employees wouldn't come to town hall because of the dangers of flooding?
So Chuck,
To the taxpayers.
all right, so Chuck, I will answer that question.
Right.
The reason the town hall was closed, I think, is self-evident. It's for the safety of the employees.
Not questioning that.
Right. So now let's address the second part. And Jack, correct me if I'm wrong. State statute does not give municipalities the flexibility to change the deadline, nor any penalties that are associated with that deadline, if I understand correctly, but please correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct.
So I think, Chuck, the answer to it is, unfortunately, I mean, obviously, we would have said, bring it Monday then. But state statute does not permit that.
But Mr. Mayor, if I may say, actually, it was fortuitous because all of our residents did actually get an extension because the town hall was closed Thursday, Friday, but then also Monday as well. So it was Tuesday before. If you put your check in the go box at town hall, so I believe
On Tuesday then.
Yeah, effectively there was an extension until Tuesday.
Right, Mayor, there was no interest charged if the check was in the box on Tuesday. There was
Understood.
no interest charged.
Yeah.
I mean, it did seem a little draconian, and when you read it, you have to pay it, and the town hall is closed. So, Chuck, I fully agree with you.
It's perception and reality. You're telling me they didn't get charged, but the perception is, hey, go out in the flood, pay your tax bill, but don't allow the employees to come to work because it's too dangerous. I mean, am I being unreasonable or illogical here?
Well,
I'd like a response.
I paid my check online.
Well, that's another topic. I pay them online as well, but there was a new system involved. I wasn't sure it got processed as in the past, but there was no notification that we had a new online payment process system. Could someone explain why that wasn't conveyed?
That was conveyed.
Where was that?
That was on our website last month when we put the process in place.
Well, I clicked on it to pay my taxes and it was a whole new system. I didn't see any explanation when I clicked on it.
You could have called for help. We were
You're in
answering.
the office. Where do I call you?
If you read the notice, I said that we were answering our phones and emails.
Well, I was not pleased with how the payment processing was handled and how the demands for payment were handled.
Hey, Chuck, what exactly confused you with that new system?
What confused me is that when I went to pay it, I had all my documents in front of me. When I put in my lot and block number, it popped up. This time it didn't pop up. I had to put the entire block number in and the entire lot number and my name. In the past, I would put in the first digit, everything would appear, it'd fill it in. And then the payment was delayed. It took like 3 or 4 hours to make sure I got payment, whereas in the past, it was on my credit card in a matter of minutes.
Okay.
That's what changed.
Out of curiosity, Nancy, do we know how many payments were received on Tuesday?
I don't know off the top of my head, but in the big picture of almost 3,000 taxpayers, there were only 100 outstanding by the end of the week.
Okay, that gives a perspective to it. So anyway, Chuck, I hear what you're saying, but I think we handled it as best we could under the circumstances.
Perception versus reality. That's the issue.
Understood. Thank you.
Great night.
You too.
Wait for the rain.
Yeah, you and everyone else. Just keep the wind. As long as we don't get wind, I think we'll be okay. Megan?
I'm gonna unmute. It looks like Eric Calabrese. If you could state your name and your address for the record, please.
Eric Calabrese, 126 Winding Way in Sterling. I'm phoning in today in regards to the invasive species proposed ordinance. I phoned Alec Meehan back in July, had him out to look at some bamboo coming over from my neighbor's property. The bamboo I have paid for twice to be removed out of pocket. I have continuously for 5 years, every time a new stalk of bamboo pops up, I wait for it to grow, I cut it, I spray it with Roundup at my own expense. But the only thing I'm left with then is a dangerous punji stick for my 4-year-old or 2-year-old to then fall on. When Alec came out, he looked at it, he said, hey man, I'd love to provide you some sort of relief from the town on handling this issue, but there was no specific ordinance to follow up on. My neighbor is not very willing to handle, the issue. They inherited it when they bought their home 6 years ago, along with 55 trees that they have since cut down on their lot. With that said, my issue would be is I'm looking for the town council to pass an ordinance. I'm a social studies teacher, and this exact issue falls in line with something I teach my students to do, which is to look at local policy and how to propose policy, how to adjust policy. This is something that I teach. And this is exactly something that I'm going to use with my students this year is the concept of bamboo. In my research, Harding, Springfield, Warren, Somerville all have ordinances. While they may not all have, a lot of teeth to them, most of them do seem to be pretty good in stating specifically just to the concept of bamboo, not to any other specific type of vegetation. In researching why I looked at just local neighboring municipalities. Watchung, it seems like they started looking at the issue and it has since stalled, as well as Berkeley Heights. Chatham is currently working on it. So I was not able to attend the previous meeting about it. And, I was interested in hearing the discussion this evening, but I am, looking for town to pass an ordinance to help provide me some relief. My biggest concern is obviously my children being injured by it, but, other children coming over, as I'm sure all of you have had your own children, that, kids do end up getting hurt on things, but why am I, the person to be having to deal with the brunt of it when it's really something that extends from my neighbor's property very clearly, which Mr. Meehan, stated. So.
Guy, you're on mute.
Thank you, Mr. Calabrese. Sorry about that. I think you heard this evening that it is something we want to address. The only concern was by addressing it, we want to address it, if I can say it that way, and not just put something in place that's not enforceable. I hear what you're saying regarding Harding. Obviously we know all of those other towns, and I guess we could reach out to them and see what their experience has been, that even though it may or may not have teeth, perhaps residents, if an ordinance is in place, might honor it. It's unfortunate your situation, and I'm not trying to dance around it, but Jack, correct me if I'm wrong, something that grows on one property and extends into someone else's property, and this is not the answer you wanted to hear, Mr. Calabrese. Without an ordinance addressing invasive species, do we have any ability to address that?
We do not, as a town, without having an ordinance.
Okay,
So, Mr. Mayor, if I may suggest, I mean, I think whenever, Matt first brought up the idea of invasive species, right? The first thing that came to mind was bamboo, right? Because I've seen it around me where, neighbors have had problems with it growing in one person's lot and it coming into the next. And so maybe a suggestion, and obviously Mr. Calabrese is suffering from that right now. And so, one thing that we might suggest is just to kind of kick this off, since I think that's probably the major issue, is that we look at that New York statute that was sent to us, and maybe specifically target certain types of bamboo, and whatever we're in the situation here that Mr. Calabrese is in, that I don't care if you inherited it or you planted it, if it's impacting your neighbor, you have to be the one to mitigate the issue, and maybe maybe the ordinance is as simple as that.
Mr. Calabrese, yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jack.
I was just gonna say that's a good place to start. I was thinking along the same lines. I think we have to be careful, as Mr. Lagavee pointed out, to limit the types of bamboo that we're prohibiting. So, but I will come back with more information at the next meeting.
And so, Mr. Calabrese, if I'm mispronouncing your name, my grandmother's maiden name was, we pronounced it Calabrese. Am I saying that correctly?
You are correct, yes.
Okay, I appreciate that. It is a curiosity to me, and I don't want to, pick on your neighbor, whoever your neighbor might be. If you were willing to cut down 56 trees, or how many trees you said, why would he not be willing to cut down bamboo?
Because it takes a backhoe to take it out.
So when I've had it removed here, I've seen a backhoe used, I've seen a stump grinder used, and it's just a matter of time before it has returned. But each time it continues to grow, it grows further. I've already consulted with private, attorneys on my own behalf to look at how does this, process work. And the first thing I was told was, well, you need to find out if your town has an ordinance. So, Googled that guy up. So, I'm just trying to go through the motions here. Because my biggest fear is that, one of my children or, another child playing at my property becomes injured on it. And, then it just, spirals out of control, let alone the fact that, it does cause destruction to some of the plants that we've planted here. So, let alone it's, not where I want to see bamboo since I didn't plant it.
And thank you, because you've given us more affirmation. We're in the right direction. Maybe we're moving a little slower than whatever, but we're going to get there. And I think we're going to get there sooner than later.
One of the things, Mr. Mayor, we might want to look into, because now we're talking about a bunch of different plants and none of us are horticulturists. Maybe it would behoove us at some point to get a professional in to talk to us about mitigation techniques, how to kill bamboo in place, tree of heaven, lantern fly. Look, I mean, we're not biologists here.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Good idea.
You could contact that person that you brought in to talk to us about the
Emerald Ash Borer. And to be clear, all of you Luddites on the committee at that time laughed at me when I brought that person in. And then guess what? Guess what? So sorry, Mr. Calabrese, that you had to witness that rude comment from the deputy mayor. Anyway.
I mean, would we be able to at least, agree that maybe we have an ordinance, a draft ordinance for the next meeting, just to, specifically maybe for bamboo?
Is that okay, committee? I think we're all in the same agreement on that. But in the meantime, Nancy, I think if we can find some way to fund the hiring of an expert, perhaps the expert can come in and speak that same evening. Does that sound, Brendan?
Yep, perfect.
And by the way, we know the folks over in Harding, if they've already started this, they probably have somebody over there. So we can reach out to them and see if they have somebody they would recommend. That night that you referred to regarding the Emerald Ash Borer, the expert was in fact given to us free of charge by Harding. So
really? He was free?
Free.
I would think maybe Rutgers has somebody who they'd probably send out.
Yeah, and then probably they'd want to educate the public. So, Mr. Calabrese, I know this was your dime, and then the deputy mayor interrupted you. So, is there something else you wanted to say or ask?
No, that's it, Mr. Pashari. I'm good. I just wanted to make sure that, being a social studies teacher with an issue at hand, that I advocated, the use of policy and whatnot. So thank you and appreciate it, everybody.
And you did a great job. Your students are lucky to have you.
Yeah, although I hope you don't use this exchange as an example.
No, I did not videotape anything, no.
But if you want to watch it, if your students want to watch it, there's a link that's on Long Hill, the Long Hill webpage, and they can watch this.
If
And they
it's
can
not on
say-
TikTok, I'm not sure 10-year-olds are all that interested. So,
say,
as
Mr.
I'm sure Mr. Dorsey knows.
Mr. Calabrese, they'll say, Mr. Calabrese, I guess Mr. Calabrese at that age, you were so professional and intelligent, but some of those people on the committee, I'm not so certain about. All right, okay, we'll let you get back to it. You're probably working on tomorrow's study plan. Megan,
Not seeing anyone, Mayor.
okay, with that, I look for a motion to adjourn, but we're going
So
to go
moved.
to exec with no further action.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, we're done.
Oh, are we okay? Oh, that's right. I apologize. We're okay.
Yeah, we covered that issue.
So, poor Matt, you hear, ooh, we sounded like a Christmas story. Remember? Ooh. All right. So now a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a good evening, everyone. And
Thank
please
you.
remember
Good night, everyone.
Saturday, September 11th, 7 o'clock at the Shrine of St. Joseph.